Thomas and Don, will y'all please come to the front? Everybody please give them a hand. This is a give back. You want to talk, or you want me to talk?
I can introduce this if you want me to.
There you go, introduce yourself.
So I'm Don George. I grew up in Irving, probably 8 blocks that way. And then I started electrical business in 1981. Met my wife when I was 30 years old, Dixie George, and we got married. And then that was 1989. Then 1993, I had twin sons. And in 2000, I had my third son. So I had the My Three Sons show, but nobody watched it. But anyway, I owned an electrical company over in Irving for 40 years. And then Thomas introduced me to lifestyles.
There you go. How'd that work out, Thomas?
So far, pretty good, right? So I grew up knowing a little bit about real estate. Started buying real estate when I was in college, single-family homes. Bought my first house here in Irving.
Merchant Marine.
While I was at the Merchant Marine Academy, Kings Point, New York.
Yeah.
Who thinks New York is close to here? So I was a remote owner, graduated college, bought some more doors here in Irving, single-family homes, 4plexes. But I wanted to scale up. I wanted to know how to do it better. And that's where I learned about lifestyles.
How'd you hear about it?
So being of my generation, podcasts.
Yeah. How many people heard about lifestyles from either the radio, actually from the radio, let's date ourselves, okay? How about from podcast? All right, there we go, see, the younger people in the room.
So
I was a radio guy.
So not everybody graduates from college owning 10 doors.
Yeah.
So, some come with debt, but he came out with equity.
Bonus.
Which is cool.
So you listen to the podcasts, you had owned some real estate, done it on your own, right?
Done on my own, not the lifestyles way. I won't say it's perfect. More or less self-taught, right?
Yeah.
But I was looking to learn more, and that's what lifestyles really provided.
Excellent.
And then I said, hey, how do we scale up? So I had built up some equity.
We're moving over to the next slide, by the way.
Next slide.
All right, let's go. Go ahead. Why'd you join Lifestyles Unlimited?
Why did I join, right? I wanted to learn more, right? Learn more. So as y'all will see here in this lovely picture, I worked on ships. Merchant Marine Academy, sailing on ships. I'm at sea 6 months out of the year, right? How do I get out of the rat race when you're gone 6 months out of the year? Now, some people may say, hey, you only work 6 months out of the year. Not that bad. But I missed a lot of life events, right? And so I came up with a scheme to get out of that rat race. That's where my parents came in. So I had some money from real estate.
Yeah, he said, Mom, this will be fun. Yeah.
And I said, hey, we can go buy an IRO.
So I'm sorry, I have to throw this joke in there. I'm a retired Navy Master Chief, right? And did the last few years in the Submarine Reserve Force. And there's a joke for submarine boomers, right, who go out on 6 months tours, right? You could either be there for conception or birth. You choose which one. Right? So, sorry, go ahead.
So I actually timed it so that I was off the ship for the birth of my kids, but it was it was close. I had to take off several months.
Okay.
But you missed first birthdays, first Christmases,
definitely.
stuff like that. Yeah.
So once he graduated from college, he had a couple of years where he didn't really have a lot of expenses. So during that time, he bought the General Dollar. And
So you took
did
your
a
single-family
triple
houses.
sold them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how I got my equity is I grew it, right? Single families into a commercial property. That commercial property is what helped me leverage into multifamily.
Okay. So you did single-family, you moved that into a commercial investment, and then when did you find Lifestyles at this point? Or
So I found
throughout this
Lifestyles in
process?
about 2018. About the same time I was, like I said, trying to learn more. So I learned how to sort of buy a commercial property. And then I learned more about multifamily because, again, I'm on a ship.
Then you said, damn it.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, no, I said I'm on a ship. I got to find something super passive, right?
Yeah, that
Or
is, yeah,
remote.
triple net's pretty passive, pretty super passive.
Triple net's very
Nothing.
passive.
Yeah.
And he was floating around in the nice warm Gulf and over to Florida. And then he met this girl that works for Hoshi in Dallas, and he follows her all the way to Minnesota.
Don, I think you like bragging on your son, huh?
I like my son,
Yeah.
but then he took a job in Alaska. Then while he was up in Minnesota, he bought this condo, and he lived in the top and leased the bottom part to the people below. I think you doubled your money on that.
Cool.
And so he was getting capital, learning more
couple of
about
years.
this, and then 2018 he joined Lifestyles.
So when did you drag your father into this?
So in
Oh.
2019 he talked me and Dixie into coming to the 2-day, and then I had a friend Jeff over there that had joined Lifestyles, so that kind of made me think, well, maybe this is worth doing. And then Dixie said yes, which if she would have said no, that would have been a harder sell. You want to?
For a long time, I said, no, this isn't for us. Yeah.
Even though you were doing most of the work for him when he was out at sea, is that right? On some of the
No, this
families?
was kind of, well, yeah, you're right.
This
I
is
was mowing, taking Cameron over to mow those yards. Yeah.
That's a great, man. I mean, free maintenance woman.
As we get into the numbers, my mom, when I was at sea, we would plan on, hey, I got a vendor coming, and I would need some help to make sure that vendor did their work. It's just who did the double checking.
Yeah.
You know,
Little
trust
supervisor.
but verify.
Supervisor, yeah. Because originally when Thomas said, I'm going to need some help when I'm, gone to sea, and I said, okay, I'll drive by once a week, twice a week, and be sure it hadn't burned down.
It's awesome.
That was what I thought I was going to do.
So when I joined in 2019, I'd owned an electrical company for 40 years, and I really had no out in my mind. All I knew was I worked 65 hours a week, every day long. We did, maybe $25 million worth of work, 150 electricians, and we just kept them busy around Dallas. And that was my career, and there was really no out plan. You had these cycles. And then I sat here listening to the story and said, well, at the end of the day, if I had $1 million in my pocket, I could easily retire and have something to do with my 65 hours. And
Definitely.
so now I'm retired, and my maybe 10, 12 hours a week I spend studying some numbers here and there. But so that was my escape to where, I could sell my company. And if Dixie wants to make a comment about Don selling his company, that she told me I'd never retire,
Yeah.
that I'd just keep on working
That you
until
would
I
keep
fell
on,
over
yeah,
dead.
right. And even after you sold it, though, you continued to go in for over a year until they said, maybe it's best if you don't come in anymore. It's time to part ways.
But it was the lifestyle presentation that it said I knew I could retire if I had a little bit of cash. It didn't matter what I sold the company for.
That's a very common statement I hear as a mentor. Not exactly that one, but lifestyle showed me the map, right? To get out from one place to another, from my W-2 to retirement, right? And that's, people always say, hey, thanks Dell for sharing the map, because he shared it with me, right? Wyatt's going to share it with you this weekend. So you sold your company, thought if you took $1 million and invested, you'd be able to retire.
Well, I didn't sell it before I joined.
Okay, you just thought this.
So I refinanced 3 of my rental properties to start investing passively.
Okay.
And Dixie was upset with me refinancing those 3 properties because they didn't cash flow.
Sure.
But if we raise the rent to market rents, then they cash flow. So that's where I got my first seed money to start investing. So now I think I've been in 46 passive deals and then 39 that are active.
Wow,
And
all right.
And 11 too many, but that's a different story.
All right, so that's a great point. Before we move to the next slide, first of all, 46 passive investments. Thank you. That's awesome. Congratulations. There's a couple ways we buy multifamily property at Lifestyles. One is a lead investor says, hey, I'm going to go buy this property. I need $500,000, $1 million. How much you want, how much you want. It's kind of like that. They're partnerships. It's called a syndication, which Wild will teach you about this weekend, right? So there's one way we buy multifamily properties in a syndication, right? There's one boss, the lead investor, and 10 passives that vote whether or not that guy gets to keep his job every year, right? Something like that. But another way is for two people to go, hey, I got some money. Let's partner and buy something we call an IRO, or an independent rental owner, or a very small partnership. Sometimes it's just one person or one girl, right? But they chose to go the IRO route. We often see this with families, right? Excellent. So they both had some success, had some cash, wanted to do something with it.
So the thing about doing an IRA with your family is a little more, let's say, security. I'm going to see them at the
Sure.
dinner table.
And if it doesn't work, you'll have to take care of me when I'm out. Oh,
This is mine,
Either
and
way,
I
it's
got to take care of him. So
on him.
It became, on
So-
me. But we did,
And IRO stands for independent rental owner.
yeah. So we said we're going to do a partnership. Now, we did a particular partnership called a TIC, tenant in common.
Yep.
Would you like to?
So they took profits from their. Did you 1031 in?
no,
or
I just took
Okay.
cash.
I sold mine as a 1031.
He sold his Dollar General, deferred the capital gains tax by invested into another property. Chris will teach you about that this weekend. Copy. But by deferring capital gains on the first investment, that gave him more cash to roll into the second investment. Everybody understand that? If you got more cash going in, you could buy a bigger property, right? And get more cash flow and copy? And they did it in a partnership structure called a TIC, which Chris may highlight. But that's just a way that they could both either 1031 or 1031 out and avoid those capital gains tax separately without having to move forward in the future. And if that confused you, I'm going to defer to learn more about it from Chris this weekend.
Attorneys can help you out. That's
Yeah.
that's attorney question.
I've done it once before too on a small partnership, on an IRO. And we'll just go. I clicked off the slide somewhere. Give me 1 second. There we go. Excellent. So they both took some cash and bought a property together. Tell us about Creekview Village and why, how you found it. What'd you like about it?
Yeah, so at the time, I was out of state, but I knew Texas. I grew up here in Irving. I knew the markets, so we were looking all over the DFW area, and this property popped up. So networking, key. Talk to realtors. Every realtor you can find, you want to talk to them. So at this time, we were talking to every broker, but the Lifestyles Realty team had brought us this deal. And it was, I would classify it as off market. The listing broker was a one-off single-family residential broker who had brokered this deal, and I brought it to the Lifestyles Realty team. We toured it, saw it, said yes, let's make an offer, and the rest is history.
And so you were working with a mentor during this time?
Yes, our mentor was Don Rao at the time. We worked with him. We went through our MFQA, did all the analysis.
Multifamily quick analysis.
Yeah,
And when we went to the property, it wasn't like me and Thomas went and said, what are we looking at? We had the operations team, we had Don Rao, we had other vendors from Lifestyles that walked the property and checked the plumbing, checked the, how.
Breaker boxes, the roof.
yeah, we did the full inspections, right? You
Understand.
check everything.
So what part of, it's in Garland, never mind.
It's in North
on-
Garland.
Okay,
It's
so
right
y'all
on
bought
that
it in
line.
February 2021, about $107,000 a door, cash out of pocket, $800,000, and got a loan for $1.8 million.
That's correct.
And
Now
had a
you'll
rehab
notice
budget.
2021, right? Mm-hmm. COVID.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So
February 2021. Well, yeah.
part of this was
latter
the,
part
the
of.
exit of COVID,
Yeah.
and that was part of the, let's call it timing the market to know that, because there were COVID reserves, and it's probably on the next slide, but that
Okay.
was something we had to think about. Was, hey, we had to put money in that we didn't get to use for operations.
Yep.
We didn't get to use for CapEx. It just sat there in the lender in case something happened with COVID.
Yep. So during a time of uncertainty, right, the banks wanted a little extra money just hanging out, kind of like a lender reserves, they called it back during that time. But as you'll see, the deal still worked out, even with a little extra capital in the deal. Here's some before and after pictures. Nope. Nope. Here's the numbers. Is that the slide? No, yeah. Sorry, I was looking at a different slide. Here's the numbers. All in all, and this income is when you bought it or at the exit?
This is the exit income.
Okay. So all in all, income, and we'll see a slide that breaks these down a little more year over year in a couple pages. But income of 350, expenses of 155. It's pretty good. It's about a 35% expense to income ratio. Yeah. Nice. Monthly multifamily tends to be about 51%. So they were running the property real well. Cash flow, the NOI, 202,000. Y'all held this for 3 years and paid out 54,000 in cash to the partnership.
Yes.
About a 7% return. Copy.
And we didn't really need the cash, so we weren't that concerned about it. Owning a business, I knew what a balance sheet was and a profit loss statement was, so it was like the exit was the plan.
So
Yeah, small partnerships
something
are
to
great
talk
like
about,
that.
I guess, is and you're probably on one of these further slides, but the distributions early on we didn't pay out because of the COVID reserves, but once we kind of got past that gray area, we started paying our distributions. And we just have a meeting and say, hey, how much do we want to pay out? We
Yeah.
got this much money in the bank.
That's how it is in a phone call. Hey man, that was an extra 30 or 40 grand in the bank. You want to pay it out? I guess. I mean, do we need to do anything to property? It's just kind of like that.
Pay his mom some money for her
Yeah.
trips to the property.
Well, and it is comforting to get the distributions because then you know that
Oh,
things
sure.
are rolling along on schedule.
And it reinforces your belief cycle. There's nothing that reinforces the belief cycle better than cash coming to the bank, right? Copy?
My
This
mom
works.
really
I'm getting
enjoyed
deposits.
the cash.
Yeah. So you bought it in February for 2.3 million. You sold it in April for 3.4 million. And with about 800 invested, that's about a 800 and something gain. So about a total return in 3 years of 104%.
That's correct. And nice. It was fun.
Now, that's awesome.
It's better than our IRAs and any stock market
Yeah,
investment.
and
that we-
anybody's IRA making 34, 35% a year or 401k? Right. Yeah, all right. Well, cool. So here are some before and after pictures. What was the rehab you did? Did you do much? You painted?
You'll notice lots of paint,
Yep.
lots of exterior work. So our first plan was exterior because it kind of looked like a Christmas tree. You got red and green everywhere. You got different colored roofs. Didn't quite appease to the eye, right?
Curb appeal, right?
Curb appeal.
The majority of rental real estate, as Wyatt will teach you this weekend, is leased by curb appeal. Someone looks at it driving by. Hey, that place looks nice.
Sign was bad, so now you actually had to sign with the name, phone number. We put our website on there.
Who'd have thought putting the phone number on a sign would help you lease units?
Yeah.
So, who did you buy from? Was it the mom and pop owner?
Let's call it a mom and pop California owner who never
Yeah.
visited the property, had a cousins or some sort of relative in the Garland area that would come and
Someone unsophisticated who
Check
just
on
check
it.
up on the place.
maybe mill yard.
They're still out there, y'all. They are still out there. Yep. Excellent. So signage, is the cedar planking around the porches new?
Yes, we added cedar planking as a kind of accent, but also created patios for the ground floor residents. They seem to love it.
And did you charge more income for those?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so also Chris will teach you this weekend about the beauty of multifamily. In single family, you have to wait for appreciation, right? In multifamily, you could force appreciation by increasing the income on the property. You significantly increase the value. Right? And Chris will explain all that this weekend. I love doing the case study because I just put it all on him. But it's a beautiful thing. You make appreciation happen in multifamily because the value of the property is derived from the income it produces. It's not derived from what other things are selling for. And if you increase the income, you significantly increase the value. Good show.
Fun stuff.
And Chris will tell you the 32 ways we increase income in multifamily this weekend. Actually, I think it's 33 now. Think of another one before Saturday. Okay.
Our books only say 28. So.
Okay, so interior before and after.
You'll notice that the before, I mean, it's clean, it's functional, but notice how much nicer the after is, right? We were able to increase your rents, let's just say at least $200 on this one. The big thing here, so one of the reasons why our bathrooms are so nice is plumbing issues.
Because your mom ran the rehab for you?
She definitely helped doing some of the design. Yeah, hey, that's not very good. Pick the colors, right? Use your mother.
Yeah.
She's much better at picking colors than I am. So, but by fixing stuff like the showers and not just doing some sort of refinish, I was able to fix a lot of water leaks. And that's key to controlling expenses. Part of why Brian mentioned our expenses were very low. We fixed a lot of those problems.
Yeah, excellent. So did you, in all 22 units, did you pull the tubs or did you reuse the tubs?
No, we did reuse the tubs.
So you just replaced the surrounds. That allowed you to get into the wall and replace all those valves and manifolds. So you did all that work yourself, right?
No.
You're out there with that little brazen torch
at
and
sea.
doing
I
things.
was on a ship.
Okay.
And I didn't use my mom. My mom would
I was
not do
working
that
too
work.
hard.
So, and then also you learn in multifamily, right? So the single family, it's a little bit of a job. Multifamily, you stroke a check to someone to do the work and you run your business. Does that make sense?
So
Good
when
show.
we first bought the property, the tenants were all Asian. None of them spoke any English. So we
So you're
had
fluent in Cantonese or something, I guess?
She's very good at Vietnamese.
Okay.
Google Translate, right? Everybody's got a smartphone.
And so we hired a property manager that we soon learned didn't really answer his phone, and he used that language barrier as his
Defense or something?
Yeah. So Dixie would drive out there to see the property, and she would have these nice little people come out and start talking to her, and here's the problem.
they
that
are
I need to
wanting
fix.
help.
Here's the problem that I need
Right, yeah.
fixed. Or their kid would come over because the lady showed up.
Yep.
And they'd come over and translate
Put me
and
on
say,
the
this
phone
needs to be
with their
fixed.
son who speaks English and to find out what the problems were.
It's
Yeah,
And-
it was
and-
required by our loan that we had, a third-party management company,
Mm-hmm.
and so we went the cheap route. And a lot of times, if you go really cheap, you get what you pay for,
Mm-hmm.
and we did. So Thomas spent a lot of time, I guess Thomas and I, really micromanaging our management company because there were a lot of deficits there.
Yeah, Dell has another saying. If you don't have a leasing agent or your leasing agent ineffective, you is the leasing agent, right? I mean,
And Thomas was able to micromanage the manager.
Management company.
And from at
Long-
sea or in
That's his
Minnesota.
job.
Yeah, he,
there you go.
I believe he
He's
did a
making
good
you
job.
money. That's
Yeah.
his job.
I got to
I
a
was working
point.
my 65-hour-a-week job.
Okay, so some more before and after here on the exteriors. I wasn't asked. So all the bathrooms, did you replace the shower surrounds with tile?
Yes, this.
Okay, awesome.
Any of them we touched. So
Awesome.
we touched probably 65% of them.
So you took the porch from being that small to that big, and
Yeah, so the patio, right? So
patio.
you can see one of those things when you're doing your early inspection, touring these properties, you're saying, what can I do to increase the income? Well, you notice that every resident is using their patio. Well, I can give them a little more space, give them a little privacy, give them a little yard. So we saw that as an opportunity to increase income versus, let's say, when we visited this property, there were no pets. Well, why would I put a dog park in when there's no pets? No one wants that. But everybody wants patios. So that was some of those things that we learn at Lifestyles.
you either depends upon your residence. You either call it a pet yard or a play yard, right? What's the proper need? Either way, we're going to make more money on it, right? At my 176 units here in Las Colinas, we did the same thing a year and a half ago, right? Same thing. And Wyatt mentioned this, Chris mentioned this earlier about systems and processes, right? You see from the vendors that have come up here earlier, the mentors. He and I are doing the same thing on our properties because it works, right? Lifestyles Unlimited is a like-minded group of successful real estate investors that participate in the abundance mentality. Sometimes you go somewhere and you know they won't tell you the secret sauce, right? At Lifestyles, we tell you the secret sauce, tell you the ingredients that are in it, and then show you how to make it. Copy? All right, good stuff. Okay, here we go. Promise of the broken down numbers here. So at takeover, right, income was 297, expenses 126, means the NOI was 170. And then year 2, we had a decent pop in NOI. Income went up to 330, right? Expenses went down a bit. So y'all see doing the rehab, fixing the property took expenses from about 126 to 120 that year. So his NOI went up. And then in 2024, right, well, we have a little inflation, right?
Yeah, we'll
Rents,
call it Biden inflation.
yeah, rents went up quite a bit. You see from 330 to 358 on the income, and expenses went up also, right? Payroll got a little more expensive in 24.
Insurance, I'm sure.
Insurance, taxes also, right? But you still see the net operating income of about 202,000 still netted them cash flow on the bottom line each year. Everybody see that? Excellent.
I also used the weakest months, February. It's a very well-performing property.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, good point. But these are just annual numbers, correct?
Correct. They're an annual.
Excellent. So, to take it all at the sale at year 3, right? As I said, we calculate value in multifamily based off the income the property makes. And we do that with a multiplication or a division factor, whatever, called the cap rate, right? Which Chris is going to go into detail on this weekend. Just so you know, it's a multiplier to figure out how much property's worth. So you see when they bought the property, it was $2.375 million, right? And that's simply just done by taking the NOI of 134 and then dividing it by 0.06. It's divide, right? Yeah. Stage math is hard, but it comes out to about 2.375 million. And then you just take that same thing in year 3, the income of 202,000 divided by the 0.06 gives you a value of 3.4 million, and that was your sales price?
That was your sales price.
There you go. And they returned investor capital, the 800,000 they put in jointly to it, and in addition to their cash distributions they had throughout the 3 years, they had a total cash and equity capture of about 1.6 million. So they got all their money back, the 800K, and then another $808,567 on top of that, I guess, right? So about 104% return on an original investment in 3 years. Copy? Now, out of curiosity, don't raise your hands, but you can. Who here has 400,000 and they want to partner with someone else and do a deal like this, right? You got 400K in your bank account? A couple hands went up, all right. Who here has $80,000 and they'd like to own 10% of this deal? That's how we partner in multifamily and lifestyles. Copy? If Don was the lead investor and he said, I'm going to raise 800,000, I'm putting in 100,000, right? Or 80,000. I need 9 other people to put in 80,000. Well, you would have 10% of the voting rights. You'd have 10% of the profit from the LLC. You'd have 10% of the depreciation of the tax savings that we get that makes our cash flow tax-free that Chris is going to talk to you about Saturday morning right before lunch. But that's how we partner in lifestyles. We do these in syndications or we do them as an independent rental owner, an IRO. So how did you increase the NOI? Can you summarize it all up for us? I know we've talked and highlighted on a lot of things, but just...
Best product, best price. That's what they teach here at Lifestyles, right? If you make everything nice, you take and repair stuff for the residents, you are responsive and courteous, you can drive your NOI, you drive those rents. When you're lease comes up for renewal or you're moving people in and you show them the rent price or the increase, they are well received that increase. When you go up $200 in rents, or when you lease a new apartment, they go, "Hey, can I transfer to that one?"
Yep.
Oh, I'll pay that $300 or $400 difference to move because it's nicer.
Everybody
newer.
wants a nice place to live, and all we have to do is provide it for them, and they love it.
Correct.
And I think when the people see that you care about them and
Yes.
you want their place to stay functional, and if you can get them to call you to come fix it, you actually come, that they don't move out. And then that saves you the rehab expense. So if you can get them in there and everything works and it's pretty and they keep paying their rent, you keep doing little bumps because it makes sense, and they just stay, then you have a good NOI, I think.
Yeah, if you
3
don't
years.
mom and pop it like the previous owner did, right? If you actually fix up the units, do some of the best practices and lifestyles with some of the best people around, right? No one wants to move. Literally, it's the most stressful thing after death, divorce, marriage, and moving, right? It's right up there. No, I'm serious. Don't give your residents a reason to move. They will stay. It's phenomenal. I believe everybody deserves a clean, quiet, upscale place to live. And they pay me and my partners for delivering that product.
And if you're in a neighborhood of another 20 apartments on the right and the left, and you're known for everything works, they start coming. And
They do.
And your sales and marketing is.
The better tenants start coming, the one that can afford the higher rents that you're charging, right? That's awesome. Exterior rehab, curb appeal, increase rents by over $250 a unit. That's phenomenal. Did some stuff with the utility income. What'd you do
So-
there?
The California owner would text all the residents
Hey, your
okay.
electric bill's $20 this month.
what their RUBs were. So RUBs, ratio utility billing system, right? So he would text, "Hey, you owe $25, you owe $55, you owe $62."
Yeah.
And it varied. And so with the resident base, seeing what they were doing, it was much easier to give them a flat fee than to have some varying amount every month that you would, let's say, text them.
Yeah. And so Chris will teach you about this weekend. It's called the Resident Utility Bill Back System. Some people choose to do it that way. Some people choose to do it just, hey, your rent's $1,000. It includes water and electricity, right? But either way, it allows us to increase income on the property. Either way we do it. Paying online. You implemented that?
There was a drop box they used to drop checks in right next to one of the residents' units, and you'd come around and have to collect that, right? So how do you make things easier? Online. You get
Everybody's got a phone with the internet.
Exactly. And one thing we learned is everybody's got a relative that will teach them how to use the internet and help them pay online.
Excellent. Okay, so Don, Thomas, how has this changed your life? Or Buell and Buell?
You want to? So
I'll go first. So I've been sailing on ships since I graduated college in 2015. Now I don't.
Wait,
That is-
since he's been working a whole 9 years of his life.
So, bought my first apartment at 28, right? Tough. But yes, yeah, whole 9 years of my life. Now I'm doing real estate full time.
Brother, you don't know problems. You're too young. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Got my family down here to Texas. We're happy Texas residents.
So for me, I don't know that I would have honestly sold my business if I didn't have another activity that I could do work-wise. And Lifestyles really isn't work, but they have a case study, they have a road show, they have one in Central Texas and one in Houston.
It's forced networking.
Being invested in 39 passive deals last summer, I talked Dixie into going from like Dallas to Norman, Oklahoma, Kansas City, Missouri, to Indianapolis.
Just to drive by the properties or
Well, in
something?
this case, there was a road show in Indianapolis,
okay.
and then we stopped by the lead and had breakfast with the lead and talked about the property and kind of got to know them better. And then to Chattanooga, and they invited us into their home, and then to Mississippi, and then back to Dallas, and then we stopped along the beach and walked along the beach and saw the beach and bought fish and went back to the lake house. And so
Very cool.
so I enjoy
So it's
the
provided for your
networking.
retirement and giving you something to do.
Yeah. And then with Thomas, it's like now that he's basically going to be an aspiring lead or is an aspiring lead.
Yep.
And then it's like, what do I do with my money? It's like, ooh, I'll buy another RO. But me being lazy dad, I'm gonna let him manage it.
Of course.
He's young and
That's how you've been doing it the whole few years.
and
as it
then
went
in
by.
exchange, I get to take care of the kids.
There you go.
And they're cute.
There you go.
And then I think last year we went to Israel for a couple, 3 weeks. I floated down or through the Grand Canyon and the Colorado River. We did a RV trip from Minnesota.
Man,
to
where's your slide with all the
Grand
pictures?
Tetons. And then I had one son in Baltimore, so we had that. We had the other son in Minnesota, so we spent a couple weeks there, a couple weeks there. So that's much better than working.
I'm hearing that
65,
you like
80
traveling
hours.
more than working.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I do ride a bike about 10, 12 miles a day or 17 miles a day if I can.
Excellent. So, Thomas, you're focusing on real estate full time. George is Don is focusing on just traveling full time.
Well, I'm going to buy an RO.
Okay,
I'm going to
all right.
invest more passively.
Okay.
I'm going to network in lifestyles. So all of that stuff.
It's like a drug. You need more. I mean, you need more units, right?
I mean, you can't just sit at home and watch TV
I know.
or sit in a chair and their legs swell.
Okay, so what's next? I think we kind of heard some of this already, but Thomas, Don?
Yeah, I'm an aspiring lead. That's the next project. As real quickly, we did sell this property, right? So
Got nothing to do?
got to go move on.
Just
to the
got
next
money
thing.
in the bank, need to do something with
We
it?
got money in the bank.
Yeah.
They'll teach about how to, let's say, preserve taxes, avoid taxes, not pay the tax man, right? So one thing to do is go buy more properties.
So yeah, so you 1031 in this property, you sold it, and now he's quit his job so that he become a real estate professional, which Wyatt's going to teach you about this weekend. So that way he could offset some of those capital gains tax by being a real estate professional, right, from the sale. Excellent.
And now I got some honey-to-do projects around the house, and she wants me to get some stuff done. So now that I'm not on a ship, I kind of got more time.
2 family trips a year, right? 1 or 2 trips without the kids per year. Yeah.
And my wife
gotta do
needs,
that.
she needs some time with just me, right?
Yeah.
Kids all the time. I'm sure all the ladies in this room know you gotta have a break.
And you want to buy your IRO and take the grandkids to Caddo Lake.
Her parents have a lake house on Caddo, so that's an easy thing to do. So one of my visions when I went down the Colorado River or through the Grand Canyon was when I turned 72, I could take all my 6 grandkids. They'll all be old enough to float down.
Nice.
So that's kind of would be fun thing to do. But I'm going to bring the boys too, and if their wives want to come, because I can't handle 6 kids on a river.
So
8 days.
We may not send the 6 kids with him.
I think Caddo Lake is the only natural lake in Texas. Is that right? Yeah, a little Texas
Largest
geography
natural
for you.
lake.
The largest natural lake in Texas. That's right.
So I did kayak.
Most of them are dammed up and man-made.
I did kayak Lily for 20 minutes over to see the eagle's nest and back. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
Grandpa thing.
And Thomas, you want to get up to 3 multifamily properties under management. And Don, you're going to enjoy retirement. Sounds like you're already enjoying retirement, though.
Yes.
That's the long-term goal when you're already there. Excellent. So how'd y'all do this?
Mentors, Don Rao, big help. We had our vendors with the Ramey King for insurance. They really helped us out. And it's last year, especially getting renewals, because those are there's a lot of increase in insurance, so they're a big help. We did a Freddie Mac SBL, so make sure you network with the mortgage brokers. And outside of that, management companies. So we, our management company is not a lifestyles vendor, but if you need a manager in the Garland area, find me.
So we have a little bit of time for some questions before I hand it back over to Chris. Any questions for Don or Thomas? Yes, sir, in the back.
What's the most interesting thing you have found when you had to move somebody out of a?
Okay, let me repeat that for the online crowd. The question was, what's the most interesting thing you found when you had to move someone out of a unit or someone moved out?
I'm going to preface that with, for the most part, I didn't have anything left behind that I did because I use a vendor to go and clean up the units. But it does happen, but I never had I wouldn't say anything but trash.
So, yeah, there are interesting things you find. If the electricity's been cut off, don't open the refrigerator, right? That's kind of the rule. Let your make-ready team do that. Any other
we just didn't have a lot of turnover. We did have some people who wanted to move from maybe an upstairs unit to a downstairs unit when those came available. So that was nice too. And then we'd say, well, we just rehabbed this, so it's going to cost more.
Or
and
a classic unit to a rehab unit.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Excellent. Any other questions? Wow.
Just one question online.
Yeah.
The occupancy, you said you didn't have much turnover. So what was occupancy when you bought it, and where is it today?
So it was 100% when we bought it. Mm-hmm. It's 100% today. I just talked to my manager who still managed it for the guy we sold it to. So
There you go. Look at that. Best product, best price, with the best people.
It's easier to run a 22, 25, 30 unit than it is the 200, 250, 300 and turn that ship in a 3-year
Oh yeah,
period.
it's definitely a different timeline for investments, and that's something you'll learn this weekend with Chris. I think you did so well on the presentation. There's no more questions. All right, thank y'all.